Responsible purchasing practice actually is there where you as a buyer know that whatever you buy is something where the worker who's making the clothes is respected and is getting a dignified life, and that's what you are working on. So for example, you know that there's some wage increase, you know that you actually pay fair. So it's really related to, am I contributing to the rights of the workers in my production? Responsible business practice is really related to what we call human rights due diligence. Human rights due diligence is something which you hear a lot in upcoming EU legislation, and also in Germany there is already legislation. And human rights due diligence is really a big word. It's about making sure that your processes and that your organization is structured and taking steps in such a way that the human rights of the workers in your supply chain are respected. This is something which is both for bigger enterprises something to do, and at the same time for small and medium enterprises it's also expected to work on human rights due diligence, and in that on your responsible purchasing practices. So for example, your production planning, what prices are you paying? Do you make sure if you are sourcing in certain countries that you know what's going on? What are the risks of these countries? What are the risks of the factories that you are sourcing from? There are some purchasing practices that we think every brand should strive to achieve. Like for example, if you start sourcing at a new factory, first do some research. Ask like what material is there. Audits or other information where you see something how they treat human rights and what's happening. Is there willingness to improve if there is a situation which should be improved? Other examples are related to your own brand. How is your planning? Are you doing last minute changes, or do you give really clarity in advance to your supplier? And you can do within your own company and within your own teams, you can already work on a lot there. Another example which we really think is very important to do is if there is a situation where we know that the worker is not receiving the legal minimum wage which is agreed on in the country. There we expect, regardless your size, to have direct action to make sure that at least the legal minimum wage is paid to someone. It is a step-by-step approach, human rights due diligence, so make sure that you have a monitoring system in place, that you track, this is what I've done in the past and these are my next steps. So as a brand you can already do a lot, and that's also what is expected in the human rights due diligence cycle. At the same time, of course, there are many organizations that can help you there. There's now the Common Framework on Purchasing Practices, where actually you can see a sort of baseline, what is expected of all brands, and also a lot of examples and inspiration is provided there. There will be a group of brands that are piloting and seeing like, hey, what next steps can we take? And hopefully they can inspire also the rest of the industry. There's the industry we want. A really nice example of the industry we want is that they have a dashboard where for different countries the wages are provided. So you can actually see, hey, the wage in Cambodia or whatever country is this and this, and you can have a discussion with your supplier like, hey, this is like what the living wage is, this is what the general wage is, how is it with you and where can we work on? So it can give you really specific tools as a brand to start a discussion with your supplier on how to move forward, and of course also to show and to emphasize that you are a responsible brand and that you are willing to take that responsibility, that it is a joint journey and it's not just responsibility on the supplier.